The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio. From hot dogs to cool kitties, this is Darkside of the Pooch.
Welcome back again to Darkside of the Pooch. He's Dr. Rab Stewart, Rossbridge Animal Hospital. Of course, he is not there at the hospital, although you could be. You've got some wooded area out back there at Rossbridge, but he's actually up in the Midwest, up in Michigan. We'll talk about that in a second. The big show brought to you by, of course, Sasquatch Comics and Toys. Toys and comics. They do fantastic work down their Citation Lane. Right there in beautiful Homewood. They've got everything from comics in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They have unopened toys, all kinds of watches, Legos, you name it. Super huge toy collection down there. And of course, also Ed's Pet World. Been in business for nearly 50 years, Seth. The entire crew would love to see you down there at Ed's Pet World. They are closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, open the rest of the week. Check out Ed's. All right, you're in Michigan, correct?
I am. I'm in Pellston, Michigan.
What's up in Pellston, Michigan?
My father-in-law has been coming up here for over 50 years. He started coming here as a little boy, and there's a lake up here. It's not one of the Great Lakes. It's about 40 minutes south of Lake Michigan. So there's a lake up here he's been coming to. And, as he grew up and got married and had kids, my wife has been coming up here she's only missed one summer. She's 39 years old. She missed one summer in 39 years. And that was the summer that my second child was born. And we come up here and there's no TVs. There is internet now, but there's no TVs. There's just fishing and playing outside and board games. And half of this lake is owned by the University of Michigan.
Yep.
So only half of the lake has houses on it. So on the 4th of July, this lake will have maybe 8 boats on it total.
Wow. That's awesome.
And it's here. I'll show you.
Yeah, please do.
It's not a big lake.
Mm-hmm. If you're listening to the show, you can check this video out on, of course, our YouTube channel. Go to the Tony Curry Radio YouTube channel, and to see all the stuff. Oh yeah, what's the name of the lake?
This is Douglas Lake.
Douglas Lake. Well, it's a pretty nice size now.
No, I mean it's big, but when we talk about like Smith Lake.
Yeah, it's clear. Beautiful.
Yeah, we talk about Smith Lake and we talk about Lake Martin. It's nothing compared to those. But it's really it's nice because it's like real gentle, sloping.
Mm-hmm.
The kids can just get right in and they they don't drown and so it's cool. It's a great family. It's just cool.
Good for you. That's awesome.
Great
I'm so glad you got a chance to get away. That's awesome. We got some emails. I won't keep you too long because it's summertime and it's vacation time, but there are a couple things I want to get into quickly. First of all, I want to give you an update on Frisco Dog. You and I spoke briefly. We got a lot of emails from people, and thank you so much for the prayers. And people are saying, man, we're pulling for Frisco. He obviously had some type of intestinal issue. We don't know if it's cancer or some type of I always want to call it fibromyalgia. What's the name of the thing you said it was called again?
Lymphangiectasia.
Lymphangiectasia. Okay.
Lymphangiectasia.
Lymphangiectasia. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. It took me 3 years to get that right. All right. And so we've had him on heavy prednisone. We've had him on this EN dog food, which, by the way, he absolutely loves. His brother has snooped in a couple times, but at $8 or $9 a pound, he doesn't get any of that stuff. But, man, he must love that stuff. It looks like Kix cereal, those little round balls. He absolutely loves that stuff. And what is the stuff I've been spreading? Some type of powder on top of that? What is that? What is that stuff I'm spreading on top of that?
Oh, that's crack.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get your dog addicted to crack.
It's working.
Keep coming in.
It's working.
Keep coming in and buying it. I'm just a drug dealer. That's a probiotic. It's a probiotic that helps with overall GI health. Helps when they have diarrhea. It's symptomatic. It's not. It doesn't cure anything.
Yeah.
But it's a good symptomatic treatment. Helps with diarrhea.
The two things that I absolutely love to see, and this goes for my kids too. I love to see them eat. I love to see them poop. If they're eating and pooping, the world is good. More than likely, whatever it is, they're getting over it, and that's what he's doing. He's eating and he's pooping. He's taken a leak in the kitchen a couple times. He can do whatever he wants. That's fine. I'm still picking him up, but I have been faced with the idea now, and we'll know more when we take him back into your office next week, or later this week. But I can certainly see now what I've been talking about for years, and that is having to be the one to say, okay, he's wagging his tail, he seems to be happy, but I do have to pick him up to take him out every time. And where is his quality of life? He's not living the life of a dog yet. I'm hoping that changes, but to me, and I told my two sons and my daughter, unless he can get out in the backyard and run, I don't feel like that's, if he's an older dog, 12, 13, 14, 15, and I know he's only got a year to go because he's living out his life, that's one thing. But if he's a 7 or 8-year-old dog and he no longer could run, then you have to start looking at some of those hard questions.
Well, we've only been treating him for a couple of weeks, and he was pretty sick, and sometimes that can take several weeks before they get to where they are back, and we'll know a lot more when we see him. And we repeat some of his blood work, and mainly his protein levels and his red blood cell count, and hopefully those have rebounded.
I'm prayerful. I'm hopeful it's going to work, and I know that he's been in great hands. And that's Dr. Rab Stewart there, the Rossborough General Hospital. They are the best. Have you heard of an animal called Beacon? The dog Beacon. Thought maybe you know this. Beacon.
Tell me about it.
If you turn on television on NBC, who of course is going to be having the Olympics, they're doing all the Olympic trials. Beacon is the first ever therapy dog to wear the USA colors for USA Gymnastics. He's the first therapy dog they've ever had for USA Gymnastics for the women's team. So if you're watching television and I saw Simone Biles last night, she was killing it. You're going to see a dog on the sidelines, and it is a registered therapy dog for USA Gymnastics. And I'm thinking to myself, what took so long, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you think
I watched the trials on Friday of last week. That was our last day in civilization before we made it out here to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I wish I would have seen Beacon. I didn't see him. I saw
he'll be at the Olympics in Paris, so he will be there.
All right.
He'll be there. So check that out. And also developing story out of Florida, and I don't know how widespread it is. The Humane Society of Tampa Bay has come out with documentation and basically a lot of news stories about the outbreak of a canine influenza. It's highly contagious virus. Has been telling basically people in the entire Tampa Bay area to keep their animals inside, which is that, how does influenza work for dogs? I know we certainly have the flu for humans, but is this, if an outbreak is happening in one part of the country, do we need to look out in the rest of the part of the country, or how does that work for flus for dogs?
We had a big flu outbreak in Birmingham 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so now Tampa is just having the same thing that we had a few years ago, and it'll spread because dogs are always on the move. I mean, we have clients all the time that are taking their pets on airplanes all across country. So if it's in Tampa, we'll see it. We'll see it here, and it's highly contagious. There is a vaccine for it, and the vaccine will help limit the severity of the signs for some dogs, and for some dogs it'll keep them from having symptoms, period. But for some dogs it'll only keep them from having serious illness. So we vaccinate for the influenza vaccine regularly and routinely at our office, and so I would encourage anybody that's listening to have their dog vaccinated, because if it's in Tampa, it's going to be here.
So influenza vaccine, standard for a human being. If I get a flu shot in November, I should get my dog a flu shot, correct?
Well, I mean, it's not exactly the same thing. We are vaccinating, and the human vaccine is too, but we're vaccinating for 2 specific flu strains. One of the, and I'll be interested to know which strain this is in Tampa, because there's basically 2 strains. There's one strain that we haven't seen in a very long time, and there's one strain that kind of pops up every now and then.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. We don't see a lot of mutation in the flu virus in animals. Every year, the flu virus mutates in people, and so they kind of try to guess at as best they can as to what the vaccine should be and look like. But in dogs, it doesn't do that. So we have the benefit of not having to deal with mutations most of the time.
So I got to be careful here because I'm searching something, so pardon me. But I know how this country went crazy over vaccinations, and obviously it was the whole COVID thing, and you either were pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine, whatever. But it did seem like after we went through COVID, it seemed like all of a sudden there's all these vaccines now that are available to us, and it's been all over the place. I know there's there's the one for uh, vaccinations for 12, 13, 14-year olds so they don't get cancer. I'm not,
Is that would that be
the
the
HPV.
yeah, human papillomavirus?
Yeah, and that's
HPV.
it's one of those things where um, chances are you don't have to have it, but it can't hurt to have it. But it's something where if you do have it, it can help you refrain from catching some types of cancer later on in life. I hope I've said that correct. But it is crazy because we used to have tuberculosis, we used to have chicken pox, we used to have hepatitis. I forget some of the other ones. We used to have to get shots when you're a baby. And now all of a sudden there's a shingles shot. All of a sudden it seems like everyone's got shingles, and I've got shingles. I didn't realize we all have shingles in our bodies. We already have it in our bodies. It just doesn't rear its ugly head until usually in your 50s. So that's relatively new. And so it seems like and now I'm seeing vaccinations for dogs. So it seems like whenever we have something for humans, pretty soon following, we're going to have the same type of things for animals. What kind of vaccinations are there for cats and dogs that are available? And what kind of vaccinations do you suggest we actually get for our cats and dogs?
There are not many new vaccines in dogs and cats. The influenza vaccine is probably maybe the newest,
Mhm.
but I mean it's been out for we've been vaccinating against the flu vaccine in dogs for 20 years, if not more. There are core vaccines and there are lifestyle vaccines. Core vaccines are vaccines that every animal needs, regardless of their lifestyle. And lifestyle vaccines are vaccines that animals need if they are exposed, if their lifestyle leads them to potentially being exposed. So, lifestyle vaccines, influenza vaccine is one of them because if your dog stays in the house all the
Hold on, when you say exposed, when you say lifestyle, it sounds like you're talking about like dogs that party. You're talking party dogs, like
yeah, yeah, I'm
like
talking
an
about
AIDS
party
virus.
dogs.
Are you?
I'm talking about party dogs that go to dog parks and daycares,
Okay.
or if they're boarded or if they are groomed.
Yeah.
If they spend any time in high volume areas, then they need to have the influenza vaccine.
Yeah.
They need to have the Bordetella vaccine. If they really spend much time at all outdoors, they need to have the leptospirosis vaccine. Now, that's a lifestyle vaccine. Leptospirosis is a bacteria that is spread by wildlife. Small rodents will carry it, wild dogs carry it, and it affects the liver and kidneys. And it can also it's a bacteria that can affect humans and can be very serious if humans get. So it's called a zoonotic disease. But then there are core vaccines that all animals should get, regardless of their lifestyle. And we're talking about rabies vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't stress how important it is for every dog and cat to have a rabies vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
and also distemper and parvo. Those are core vaccines. Cats have core vaccines and non-core, not and the non-core are going to be lifestyle vaccines, but cats need a rabies vaccine. They need a rhinotracheotis vaccine, and then things like feline leukemia um, and feline bordetella. Those are lifestyle vaccines. Feline leukemia is a virus that is transmitted from cat to cat. That is, the easiest way I can describe it is it is a condition that can be considered transmissible cancer. Okay, it's not exactly right, but
Oh,
when I say leukemia, people are going to understand that is it's a cancer that affects bone marrow and blood cells. It does the same thing in cats, except it's not technically cancer; it's more of a virus, but it acts the same way.
okay.
So leukemia and Bordetella are going to be non-core vaccines for cats.
Dr. Rab Stewart, Rossbridge Animal Hospital does fantastic work. 208-0301, 208-0301, Rossbridge Vet at. You can check him out online, of course, on Twitter. His Facebook is always blowing up as well. And go check out his office there in the Rossbridge area. It's beautiful. They do wonderful work. This from Christine in Mount Brook. She wants to know, when will we have dietary medications for animals. I know there's already been, I actually did a little research on this, an Ozempic for dogs. This is quickly in, and listen, we've got more pets now on the face of this earth, and certainly in the United States, than we've ever had ever. And a lot of that had to do with COVID because a lot of people were at home, and so everyone went out and got themselves a dog or a cat or a pet to have around the house. And much like our animals, if we're fat, our animals are usually fat. And if we're skinny, our animals are usually skinny because we're getting exercise. And so they're saying because we have an obesity issue in this country, and that is roughly 30% of us are 30 pounds or heavier, that our animals are going to probably get fat too. They're going to be eating good. And now they're talking about creating an Ozempic type of just purely, it's not for diabetes or anything, it's purely for weight loss for dogs and cats. Have you heard anything about it? And is that a good idea?
I mean, it already exists. I don't know if it's still in the market because I I kind of oppose it, but it's called Salintrol.
Yeah.
And when I first graduated, I mean, it was a medication that you can give to your dog and help it lose weight. So it's been around. I'm sure there's going to be more forms of it because I mean, people have had diet pills for decades.
Why do you oppose it?
Uh, because it's easy enough to feed your dog less or exercise it, or if it has a medical condition where it needs, if it has an endocrinopathy, then take it into your veterinarian and let's run some tests on it. But I mean, there's just to give a there's probably a space for it if you have an old arthritic dog and it can't exercise and it needs to lose weight in order to live, then
Yep.
we could talk. But if you've got a 3-year-old golden retriever that's supposed to weigh 75 and it weighs 105, well, let's do some work and
Yep.
let's get some weight off of it.
I hear you. I think anytime you can do the work without having to medicate anything, regardless of whether it's depression or whatever, certainly to say that if you've got issues and you need medication, go for it. That's why we have doctors, and that's why God created doctors. But if you're talking about weight loss or something, well, my biggest fear is we always take the easy way out. We always take the easy way out, and what I'm afraid is we're going to start having what people don't realize about this Ozempic, and I can speak to this because I actually got on Ozempic about 3 or 4 months ago because I got on a medication that basically shut my testosterone levels down and shut down um, my levels of calorie intake, and so I gained like 35 pounds in a month and a half. It was crazy, and so I said I'm on television, I can't do this, blah 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 blah. So they put me on Ozempic, and sure enough, I lost like 25 or 30 pounds in the course of about a month and a half. I get off of it. But chances are when you get onto something like that, if you get off of it, you're going to get weight, you're going to bring the weight back. I mean, that's why diets don't work. Lifestyle changes do. And the whole idea of taking an Ozempic is to get into, if you're an all or none kind of person like me, you get into it, you stop doing desserts and you start taking walks at night, and you do all those things. And hopefully that builds into a different lifestyle change. So when you get off the drugs, you continue to do those things to keep your weight in check. And what I'm afraid, because these weight loss drugs do work, I'm afraid we're going to start putting our kids, because we have a major epidemic of obesity in children in this country. You just go pick up your kids and really, it's funny because you pick them up at carpool, and it's not like I always talk about, you go to a doctor's office and there's 25 people in there, 24 of them are huge. And you're like, okay, there's 24 people in here that are really sick and you're all really fat. What does that tell you? There's something, you're not taking care of yourself. That obviously a precursor for a lot of other things that perhaps could stricken us. But yeah, I just got to be careful. It's got to be careful. There's too many pills out there. I'm afraid we're getting into the Jetsons. Today I want to be happy, take a happy pill and take a weightless pill and hit the road, come back, and time to go to bed, take your pill. We're going to be taking pills for everything.
The best thing you can do is keep your dog from getting fat to begin with. Keep your dog and cat from getting fat to begin with. And all of the foods that we feed our pets, they all come with feeding guidelines. So just look at the bag and do what the bag says. And if your dog's overweight at that point, then they need to see a veterinarian.
Yeah, and if you're not feeding them at the table, then they're getting to something outside in the neighborhood. They're getting to someone's trash. So just be careful. 208-0301, Ross Bridge Vet, at Ross Bridge Vet. Of course, you can go check out his wonderful office out there. They do wonderful dirt, Dr. Rab. Brought to you by, of course, Ed's Pet World, 50 years in the business in beautiful Homewood. They've got all kinds of exotic pets. I got a chinchilla that I put on the show last week. This thing is absolutely amazing. The most amazing rodent I've ever owned. I absolutely love it. They've got rabbits down there. They've got bearded dragons. They got everything. Check them out at Ed's Pet World, 50 years in the business. Speaking of which, it is July 1st. We're recording this particular show here on a Monday as you're on vacation in Michigan, but we have the 4th of July coming up in 3 days. And if you just pull up pets and news right now, every article is about how to protect your animal during the 4th of July holiday week. Do you have any words of wisdom coming from the best vet in the land about how to keep your pet not only safe from fireworks, but also from being freaked out and getting anxiety issues from fireworks?
Yeah, keep them away from the fireworks. Dogs will try to run. I mean, they'll try to run up and eat them.
Yeah.
They'll try to put their mouths on them. So keep them away from fireworks. And there's all kind of there's many dogs that have fear of fireworks. And if it's manageable, then they don't need medication. But there are some dogs that get so fearful they do need medication. So how to tell if they need a medication or not is if they are tearing things up in your house when the fireworks go off, or they're starting to eat the baseboards or tear down the doors, or tear up pillows in your house, then they definitely could use some medication. If they're just panting or pacing, it might be something that you just want to let them ride out.
Okay.
At our office, we lean heavily on the pet owners. If the pet owners feel like that the dog is really stressed and it's hurting their quality of life, then we're going to give them some medication. But my advice to people is, if the dog is a threat to itself or to your belongings, then it needs medication. If it's just panting and pacing, look, we get nervous too.
Mm-hmm.
Humans get nervous and we pace, and our heart rate might get a little bit elevated. If that's all it is, let them ride it out. But of course, if they're doing damage to themselves or to your property, then look into some medication.
There you go. Thunder jackets. A lot of people, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about, and they've been around for a long time. I mean, and that's basically how we were told when I was younger. You just hold the animal tight to make sure it feels protected and just continue to pet it until it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And you just have to do that 3 or 4 times. And usually it starts to work. Sometimes it doesn't, because sometimes when you're talking about thunderstorms and stuff, you could be doing it for hours. But the thunder coat, I've had several people tell me they bought those and those work. So that's something to look
Thunder
into.
jackets will work if your animal likes to be held when they're stressed. If they don't like to be held, thunder jackets aren't going to work.
Yeah. Okay, there you go. Dr. Rab, info at TonyCurryRadio.net, info at TonyCurryRadio.net. Keep those emails coming in our inbox. They're fantastic. Great questions. Final question here, and this is good for summertime. This comes from Sarah in Childersburg. She said that every time she goes on a car ride, her little wire fox terrier loves to go on car rides. He gets super excited, but every time he gets in the car, he vomits. And she said, and he vomits more than once. She said, if he got sick one time, I'd put him out, that'd be fine, and we'd be done with it. But it seems like he loves to be in the car. And I know a lot of people are traveling throughout the summer months, going on vacations, and sometimes they love to take their pets. Sometimes they want to take their pets. What do you do about pet sickness? Is there a medication for that? Is there something you can do organically to keep your dog from getting throw up in the car?
Meclizine is over the counter. Meclizine over the counter, 25 milligrams for most dogs.
Okay.
But if you have a really small dog, you're probably not going to want to give a full 25 milligram tablet. It could take a half or even a quarter, but for most average sized dogs, 25 milligrams of meclizine a couple hours before the car ride.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, then you can get a prescription medication called Serenia. It's a tablet that works really well too, but all this stuff you're going to want to give a couple hours before you get in the car. If it's motion sickness, that stuff is going to work. If it's anxiety, then that may not work, and we may have to choose a different medication. But the first thing I would do would be meclizine, 25 milligrams for an average sized dog.
What about rolling a big fatty?
Rolling a big fatty. If you are in a state where that is kosher, then go for it.
Hey, do you smell the wacky up there in Michigan? It's legal up there, isn't it?
Man, there are dispensaries. When you cross over from Indiana into Michigan, all you see are dispensary billboards for miles and miles.
Yeah. I don't know, man. We can talk about this
What's
for a different
next? Hey,
show.
what's next? If we're gonna do that, what's next? Where does
You
it
know,
stop?
I think the next thing we're going to do is probably legalize psychedelics, and I'm being serious here because there's already work to make that happen. I think we're going to start getting into the shrooms. We're already saying that marijuana is going to be like gambling is in sports right now. You used to get thrown out of the sport. Now, if you gamble on baseball or whatever, Pete Rose is out forever, but that's the rule. That was the rule during the time. Now, if you gamble on something, they slap you on the hand because it's everywhere and it's legal everywhere. And now they're letting everyone out who's ever had some type of, as long as you're not dealing marijuana, they're letting all those drug people out on the street. I'm not saying they shouldn't because they're taking up a ton of space, and I don't think they're violent criminals. So we're giving them pardons. We're letting like 300,000 people out of prison who had possession things. I don't know. I guess we're getting more tolerable. I think sometimes we're just running out of space, and so we have to make some hard choices to make. But I hate it. I'll be honest with you. I just think it's a gateway. I think it's hilarious that the gambling bills that are out there, the majority of the money is being raised for gambling bills goes back into the communities to fight gambling addiction. Well, I mean,
what a hypocrisy.
What it is. I mean, right there at the bottom of every DraftKings, it says gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. I mean, it's like, and I mean, that's something that's got to be on every, it's like the pack of cigarettes. This will kill you, but yet people continue to buy packs of cigarettes. We get at some point, we got to pull our big pants up. We got to be adults, and we got to figure out what we think is best for us and our kids and go with it. Roll the dice and good luck to you. You know what I mean? And if that means smoking a big fatty with Fido in the backseat of the car, then so be it.
I've got a friend, and I mean, he has a very, very high level position, and he uses it daily.
Oh yeah, I do.
And
too.
and there are more people in this world that use it on a daily basis. I mean, and it would blow your mind the number of people that do. It is not the stereotypical person anymore.
No, it's you name it. Everyone from priests to pilots, puppet and paupers. I know. You're. I mean, I work with addicts and I do these things. I'm part of my service work, and you'd be blown away by some of the people that smoke. My dad, who had cancer at the age of 78, my brother was a big smoker. Pretty much a daily user, and he's retired now. He can do whatever the hell he wants, but he was trying to get my dad to smoke because he had cancer, and my dad was like, no drugs, was anti-drugs, and then like about a year before he passed away, he finally picked up a joint and said it was the best thing that he'd ever done. He's like, why the hell did I wait 79 years? And my brother's like, I've been trying to tell you since I was 13, this stuff's okay. He's like, wow, I'm super hungry and everything tastes so good. Everything looks so fine and I feel so good. I'm like, yeah. And then he died a year later. So there you have it. We found it just in time. All right, Dr. Rab, 208-0301. Have yourself a wonderful time in Michigan. Come home and see us. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time we do a show. It'll be the week after 4th of July. So have a happy 4th of July. Enjoy your time. Be careful on the roads, and we'll talk to you when you get back.
Happy birthday, America. Greatest country on earth. Treat it that way, everybody.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.